Hello and welcome. You're watching News Now on News Central TV. I am Judith Atibi. Top stories at this hour. Court bars former Rivers Assembly Speaker Amawale, 25 others from parading as lawmakers in Rivers. Many trapped as two-story building crumbles in Lagos Island. Votes counting underway in South Africa with ANC's majority on the line. We'll bring you details in a moment. I'll begin the news at this hour by telling you that a Rivers State High Court sitting in Port Harcourt has issued an interlocutory injunction barring 25 members of the Rivers State House of Assembly from parading themselves as members of the House. The 25 lawmakers, led by Martins Omawale and loyal to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, had on December 13th of 2023 defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. Factional Speaker of the House, Victor Oko-Jumbo, and two others had dragged the 25 lawmakers to court, seeking that they should be stopped from parading themselves as members of the House of Assembly following their defection to another political party. Also joined as defendants in the suit are the Rivers State Governor, the Attorney General of the state, and the Chief Judge of the state. In the meantime, the chairman of Ikwere local government area of Rivers State, located in Nigeria's South-South region, has accused the governor of Rivers State, Siminalaye Fubara, of high-handedness in managing the affairs of the state, especially the local government councils. The chairman, Samuel Nwonosike, says that the state government has withheld funds meant for the council for 3 months, making it impossible to pay workers' salaries and cater for their daily needs. He criticized the government, or rather the state government, for stalling operations in the local government secretariat, saying the action should be condemned.
Today in our state, local government council funds have been withheld for over 3 months. The governor of Rivers State, Siminalaye Fubara, who has told the entire world that he's a peaceful man, that he's a loving man, doesn't care the level of insecurity that are broken out in our local government areas, the debts that have laid our streets, because our workers have not been paid, political appointees are not being paid, everybody is stopped. People are dying of their illnesses because they can't pay their bills anymore. And the governor is comfortable telling people he's running 1 year in office when the third-tier government has been having stifled of funds. The governor has dipped his hand inside the coffers of
A rescue operation is currently ongoing to save victims trapped in a two-story building which collapsed at number 15 Iga Dongaran, close to Oba of Lagos, Riliwan Akiolu's palace, Lagos Island. According to eyewitnesses, the unfortunate incident occurred at about 11 a.m. on Thursday. And according to reports, many people were trapped in the building. Men of the Lagos State Emergency Management Authority, LASEMA, Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service, and Nigeria Police, among other emergency responders, were on the ground searching for survivors. Last Sunday, a mosque collapsed at Yusuf Street, Apapa Jao, Mushin area of the state. The federal government of Nigeria has once again extended an invitation to organized labor to resume negotiations on the minimum wage this Friday. On Tuesday, the Minimum Wage Committee adjourned indefinitely after talks between the federal government and organized labor broke down. Labour rejected the government's revised offer of 60,000 naira, up from the earlier 57,000 naira proposal. Now, during the meeting, the Labour also adjusted its demand, reducing it by 3,000 naira from the 497,000 naira proposed last week, setting the new figure at 494,000 naira. The Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkuruka Onyejocha, on Wednesday urged organized labor to be considerate and patriotic in their demands during the ongoing negotiations for a new minimum wage. And now to discuss this, I'm joined by public affairs analyst Francis Chilaka. Francis, thank you so much for coming on. What are the key factors that will be considered in determining the new minimum wage, and how would they be weighed in the negotiations?
Well, I think we are dragging this whole issue of minimum wage too far. Labour has come out to tell government what they think is practicable I personally would not, I do not agree with 615. I also do not agree with 400, but I believe that, federal government should be able to come up and say, okay, labor, we're giving you 150,000 as minimum wage. That will make a lot of sense. Because if you look at the cost of living today, you will agree with me that 60,000 naira is a far cry for anybody to survive in this country. Even 100,000 or 150,000 is just for, for us to have a semblance of relief and to be able to cushion the effect of inflation. But otherwise, any right-thinking Nigeria would support labor when they ask for 615,000. But I think government should be able to come up to about 150,000. That will make more sense because it's really, really difficult right now living in this country.
I mean, they have extended an invitation and asking the Labour to come back to the table for more negotiations. But how will the federal government ensure that the new minimum wage keeps pace, with inflation and rising living costs that we're seeing across all sectors?
Well, it also falls back on the government because the government has been taking care of itself and not taking care of its labor force. The government should be able to understand that if everybody needs to make sacrifice, government needs to make a lot of sacrifice. They need to cut the cost of governance. It is very, very paramount that we cut the cost of governance. It is, apart from cutting the cost, we need to also unbundle, all the areas from which there are leakages. We need to do that. So we need to begin to ask ourselves, how do we want to govern ourselves as a people? We need to know how much our governors earning, our senators, our honorables, our local government chairmen, how much are they earning? We need to cut the cost. If it is possible, we need to begin to even cut the manpower, especially in the National Assembly and the Senate, so that we can gather some money to be able to pay other people who are also working in the system. So I believe that it all falls in the hands of government, but for government to be offering labor 60,000 naira, I personally would ask government to break it down vis-a-vis the cost of living today.
I remember when we were speaking to, I think, if I'm correct, I think it was the chairman for TUC. And the conversation we had with him was pretty much on the same lines, towing the same lines, And also when we also had the representative of the chapter for NLC as well. And they keep asking that the government also presents, stats to back these numbers that they are bringing at negotiations, right? And you just alluded to that as well. So again, the truth of the matter is that bargaining and negotiations have to come into play. But what role will collective bargaining, play in the negotiations, right? Labour have walked out of this negotiations twice now, and now they've extended another invitation for them to come in. How will the interests of various stakeholders be represented in a way that something tangible can come out once and for all?
In fairness to Labour, I think government is just playing back and forth with them. And in doing that, government is also using that as an opportunity to buy time. We keep talking about organized labor, but nobody's talking about the private sector. Because if you're fixing wages for organized labor, who is going to fix minimum wage for private sectors? So these are, when you talk about bargaining, when you talk about everybody coming together, labor needs to do more. Let it not just be for those working in government. You should also have representatives of those who are working in private sectors, because they too are part of the country, they are part of the society. They're also suffering what every other Nigerian is suffering. See, the truth is this: government knows the right thing to do, but the government will not do it because government believes in creating poverty, and when there is poverty, you make the people very poor in such a way that you can control them. And that is what government is doing. Government is using poverty to hold Nigerians down. It is high time that government allows the Nigerian people to also enjoy what they enjoy as government. Because you can't have political appointees who are earning far above everybody. A governor will serve for 8 years, and then you will give him a lot of incentives when he leaves government. But those who have worked for 35 years, ordinary pension is difficult to be paid to them. So government knows the right thing to do. But then, like we say, we just have a country where there's lack of transparency, lack of accountability, and high-headedness, corruption.
Many thanks. I appreciate you, Francis, for doing this with us today.
Thank you. You're
And
welcome.
that's Francis Chilaka. He's a public affairs analyst. We'll move away now from Labour and this time to the Parliament. Nigeria's Parliament has called on citizens to embrace the new national anthem, saying its words will birth a revolution amongst Nigerians. Now, this was during a presentation by President Bola Tinubu to a joint session of the Parliament as part of the May 29th first-year anniversary. President Tinubu called for more collaboration between the executive arm of government and the legislative arm of government, saying this will help provide the dividends of democracy to citizens. Amadin Uyi reports.
The first time Nigeria's former national anthem is being sung in the nation's parliament. For many lawmakers, it evokes a nostalgic feeling.
We must hail Nigeria. And so we are all saying today, Mr. President, Nigeria, we hail thee.
By the time you sit down, read it line by line, word by word, you will see why it is very, very important for Nigeria to revisit its former national anthem.
At this joint session of the Parliament, with the President in attendance as part of the May 29 first year anniversary, the President of the Senate says the new anthem bets a national revolution.
There is no better place to commence this revolution of going back to our genealogy than the National Assembly, made of very patriotic, not just representatives, but elected representatives of the people of Nigeria. The voice of the National Assembly is the voice of Nigeria. So we welcome you.
President Bola Tinubu thanked the Parliament for support, urging them to cooperate with the executive arm of government to transform the nation.
Please continue to collaborate, work together, build our country. We have no other choice. It is our nation. No one, no age, no other institution or personality will help us except we do it ourselves.
With the signing of the bill recalling the old national anthem, many will hope its words truly beds a revolution in the minds of citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
And now to discuss this further, I'm joined by Executive Director, Not Too Young to Lead Initiative, Elvis Akpobi. Elvis, thank you so much for coming on. The rhetoric behind the reversion of the Nigeria's old national anthem has been, togetherness, embracing our diversity. It seems to be the buzzword. But how do you assess the President Tinubu's decision to, prioritize the reversion of the Nigeria's old national anthem amidst pressing national challenges? I mean, it's endless. The list is endless. Insecurity, inflation, and even foreign exchange crisis as well.
For me, I will still say I'm a proud Nigerian, and that Nigeria today seems to be a very, very interesting laboratory where experiments that are meant to be that experiment that will cater for the welfare of its citizens are not really put to the front burner. When I heard about this national anthem thing, I thought maybe it was a fugazi and all that, but with time, everything became a reality, and today it has been signed into law. And I respect the office of the president, and so I will be very, very careful with my words. But at the moment, I think it's a misplaced priority. We have issues of, like you said, we have issues of insecurity. We have brain drain. We have people escaping Nigeria just because they don't feel they're giving up on Nigeria. We have unemployment. We have other things we're dealing with at the moment. So, and if you from the clip I just watched, I overheard the Senate president saying it's a revolution. The lyrics, the theme of the national anthem, it's a revolution that talked about diversity and all that. do they allow these young people to do revolution? If we contacted governors to them with our vote, how come the same energy, they became very, very effective in doing this bill? Have they sat down to talk about bills that will make, that will provide jobs for people, bills on how to make policies to have a secure and safe Nigeria? There are people who recite the national anthem today, and you can't be. I've been privileged to go to other countries, and I've seen other persons reciting their national anthem. Mostly developed countries, they do it with happiness. You can see the enthusiasm and all that. Lately, you see people recite the national anthem. They don't stand. They're still moving. They're not stationary because they feel Nigeria has given up on them, and they've already given up on Nigeria. So for me, it's a displaced priority. I would love to reiterate and echo here that the president should remember that he was elected to come and solve Nigeria problems and not bring new things that are inconsequential. It has already been done. Like I said, we've given them responsibility to pilot the affairs of our country in the next 4 years. But it should be bear in mind that in a democratic setting like this, the welfare of the people is key. The security of the people is key. Creation of jobs and health facilities is key. It's time they started tilting towards that part, because all we've been seeing is virtual posturing. They do something, and behind the scene, something else is happening. Nigeria at the moment is at the blink.
Elvis.
It's time these leaders know that
now,
we contacted governors for them to give us a better country.
Away from let's talk about the criticism surrounding the passage of the bill. Do you agree with criticism suggesting that the rushed passage of the bill reflects poorly on the legislative process and neglects more urgent issues facing the nation today?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. My worry is not even for a handful of persons that have been in the political system. My worry is, I'm asking myself, there's a particular set of lawmakers that are wrote to become lawmakers. Like they will call them, the last election, we'll call them the people's people, where there was a revolution, electoral revolution on a particular party. We're like, okay, these people, they felt the pulse of Nigeria. When they get to the National Assembly, a handful of them wrote to become federal lawmakers through that particular party. I don't want to mention the name of the party. But today they seem muted. So it's not as if almost every Nigerian is waiting to get to that place and become muted. Once you start eating from the cake or prayers that goes into your mailbox, you don't legislate.
But Elvis, to be fair, we've seen Elvis, to be fair, we've seen a number of videos of legislators who are from the opposition as well, opposition parties who have also voiced their opinions and their concerns about the passage of the bill. So, I mean, maybe there are a number on that in that house. It can't be just everybody.
I agree with you on that. Maybe they are numbered. The number of lawmakers that would have prioritized the welfare of Nigeria are lower than the number of lawmakers that prioritize their personal interest, which for me is not so good. If the same energy, the rush they did in pacifying is good, you have a good national anthem, but it's better if you have a safe, sane nation, which
Elvis,
we don't have at the moment.
Elvis, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you for doing this with us.
Thank you for having me.
Elvis is the executive director, Not Too Young to Lead initiative, and that's Elvis Apobi. This is News Now on News Central TV. We're going on a short break. Stay with us. And on to security matters. As the present administration, led by President Bola Tinubu, marks its first year in office, about 82 local and international civil society organizations, CSOs, have said that at least 4,416 persons were killed in the past 1 year, while 4,334 persons were abducted across the country. The CSOs said that the numbers do not account for the regular crimes of armed robbery and other forms of crimes within that range. Addressing journalists in Abuja as part of the activities to mark the National Day of Mourning, the CSOs said the intractable insecurity in Nigeria has earned it a place as one of the most insecure countries in the world, as the country ranked 144th out of 163 countries on the Global Peace Index in 2024. And now to further discuss this, I'm joined by security expert and Executive Director, Elixir Trust Foundation, Emmanuel Ikule. Emmanuel, thank you so much for coming on, and we appreciate you for doing this with us. 4,416 in 24 months. That is quite the number. And this doesn't even include armed, robbery or other crimes. How should Nigerians view this report?
Unfortunately, this is our current reality. It's something that we don't wish for, but unfortunately, we have found ourselves in this particular situation. The essence of every government is the protection, promotion of rights and property. But sadly, it has been in Nigeria that all the last administrations have not been able to actually secure lives of citizens and have resulted to death of a lot of persons. Just the information, the report is capturing about 4,000, but if we check critically, those that have died, inclusive of those that maybe because of health challenges and others, may add up to about 20 or even more. And it shows how little the government have actually paid attention to what is necessary and have paid less attention to what is necessary and paid more attention to things that may not be relevant at this time, like paying attention to the national anthem and the rest.
Now, the report says these deaths have, reduced the citizens' right to live, or rather, right to life and dignity guaranteed under the sections 33 and 34 of the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria as amended to a mere inscription. Now, though some argue it is early days yet, but from your assessment of what's been done with security, how committed is this administration to upholding, rights to life and, most importantly, dignity?
For a country like ours and for the current administration, there's a saying that an unexamined life is not worth living. If any administration, I've always said that if any administration really wants to be serious about life, the first and primary thing is this: they should audit the security agencies, their accounts. If trillions of naira are being allocated yearly to military, billions of naira are being awarded to police and other security agencies, and consistently we keep having increase in the number of deaths, that means either the monies are being shared among those persons or are not being used for the purpose it's meant for. So first and foremost, this particular administration is supposed to audit security agencies. $1 trillion of naira is being spent on them. What is being used for? That is one. And if after auditing certain persons, they are culprits, they should be brought to book. There have never been accountability of funds allocated to particularly the military. No administration have audited the military. So for me, I'm advising the current leadership, if they want to be serious about these issues of insecurity, first they should audit the military. That's the first thing. If that can be done, first of all, we know whether our money is being put to use or not. Secondly, this current administration have also shown through the military that it cannot even be able to use the equipment meant for them. Some months back, there was a report of military unable to control a drone in Kaduna, killing about 100 persons plus.
Emmanuel, we seem to have lost Emmanuel there. We'll try to make connection back with him. He was talking to us about insecurity and the recent report from his organization. In the meantime, still on insecurity, the ongoing efforts to tackle insecurity in Lake Chad region took a significant step forward as stakeholders convened at the University of Maiduguri's first Lake Chad International Conference on Insecurity. Now, the discussants emphasized the need for a holistic approach that combines security interventions with targeted efforts to rebrand and rebuild and revitalize the affected communities. News Central's Umaru Kirawa was at the venue and now reports.
A platform for constructive dialogue and the exchange of ideas on the complexity of challenges being experienced in the Lake Chad region. Wide range of papers presented with emphasis on the need for a robust peace-building strategy that incorporates community-level communication mechanisms and early warning systems to facilitate healing and reconciliation.
Together, we can have a way to resolve to have a peace.
Addressing the issue of insurgency is not an issue that be taken by government alone. It is an issue that everybody has to come on board.
Countries need to sit down, develop a model where we can have effective communication. I'm even suggesting that it will not do harm for us, for these member countries to have a single television and radio station.
What we are experiencing, what we are seeing is different from what somebody will be sitting down and writing on you. So it's better that our people come down to write what they experience, what they see, what they thought.
The media should try as much as possible to avoid concepts that will aggravate conflict. Identities of actors in the conflict should be carefully coined.
Other experts advocate national legal framework to strengthen the Borno model of rehabilitation and reintegration processes with enhanced funding.
If the military will only cordon off Boko Haram in their enclaves and ensure that food does not enter, the mass surrender that you see will only increase, even without shooting a single bullet. So logistics is key to the success of any military operation.
The demand for more aggressive action to secure our borders and to maintain our territorial integrity is very fundamental.
The conference will go down as one of our major achievements, even as I leave the stage. I call on succeeding management to continue supporting such research endeavors.
One important point noted by experts is that the government should seek negotiation to ending the security anomaly in the Lake Chad. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Lagos State government, in its drive for an efficient, fast, safe and cost-effective water transportation, has unveiled 15 boats called Omnibus. Now, this is coming at a time when Nigeria has experienced incessant boat misharms. News Central's maritime correspondent Neoma Obi Asaolu was at the event in Lagos and brings this report.
Water transport has been recognized as cost-effective and an environmentally friendly mode of transportation. But the challenge of safety on the waterways has been on the front burner considering the incessant boat mishaps seen across Nigeria. These mishaps are based on regulatory lapses, poor implementation of safety standards, human errors such as overloading, non-use of life jackets or expired jackets, overspeeding, weak boats, night sailing, amongst others. In Lagos State, water transportation is often a primary mode of commuting for many communities. Thus, it is imperative to have a safe, efficient and modern boats to drive this safety initiative, which spawned the launch of 15 locally built boats called Omnibus. The Lagos State Waterways Authority believes this newly acquired boat is coming at the right time.
I want to thank you, His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State, for your unwavering support and innovative leadership in improving our transportation infrastructure. The unveiling of Nigeria-made modern ferries is a testament to the dedicated efforts of the Lagos State government in developing water transportation in Lagos State. Lagos has always been a trailblazer and standard setting, and LASWA has been aligned with this approach in setting standards for the inland waterways infrastructure and services across the nation.
On his part, the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu spoke on the priority of free jackets distributed by LASWA.
In the last year or so, LASWA alone has distributed close to 20,000 free vests. What do we call it? Floating vest or light jacket vest? Exactly. Free of charge. Free of charge. Over 20,000 LASWA has distributed, meaning that you know that you need to have the safety component before you board any of our ferries. And I want to also talk to the private ferry operators. Please listen to your regulators. When they give you a time that you cannot ply on the waterways again, please stick with those regulated time. All of the unfortunate 1 or 2 fatality accidents that we have had on the waterways in the last 1 year are people that have not listened to the rules.
With the efficiency of water transportation seen in Lagos, the residents look forward to an alternative to traffic gridlock, which will in turn make them more productive. In Lagos, for News Central, Norma Obiaswalo.
And watching news now on News Central TV. Coming up, UN Human Rights Agency raises alarm over rising crisis in the Sahel. We'll bring you details after the break. Join us again. And ballot counting is currently underway in South Africa following a historic election that could potentially end the African National Congress's 30-year unchallenged majority. Voters queued long into the night on Wednesday, with some polling stations remaining open well past the planned 9 p.m. closure due to the high turnout and last-minute rush, particularly in urban areas. Counting commenced immediately after polls closed, and while the final results are not expected before the weekend, analysts are already examining turnout figures and partial results to gauge whether the ruling ANC will lose its overall parliamentarian majority for the first time since coming to power in 1994. Political analysts say if President Cyril Ramaphosa's party falls below the crucial 50% mark, he will need to seek coalition partners to be re-elected by Parliament and form a new government. Still on elections in South Africa. In the meantime, some opposition parties are not happy with how the Independent Electoral Commission conducted its election on Wednesday. Vote counting is in progress across the country following a late close at some polling stations in the urban areas. The ANC has won a majority in every national election over the last 30 years, but several polls put its support at least or at less than 50% ahead of this one, now raising the chance of a major shift in Africa's most advanced economy. Meanwhile, as of 12 p.m. on Thursday, total valid vote counted were at 2,011,592 at 19.12% complete, with Jacob Zuma Party MK leading in KZN, with ANC leading nationally out of the votes counted so far.
A lot of challenges yesterday, as we know, and they've been highlighted. A lot of queues, a lot of voters that turned away, didn't go and vote because they're waiting 4 or 5 hours. So those questions we're going to have to address going forward. Machines not working properly. But today we're looking at the results, and it's very early stages, as everyone has said already, but we already are doing relatively well as the African Christian Democratic Party.
And now to discuss this further, I'm joined by political analyst Sifo Shiekpe. Sifo Shiekpe, thank you so much for coming on. Some opposition parties are not happy with, how the Independent Electoral Commission, that's IEC, conducted its elections. How will you rate the conduct of the elections so far compared to, the last one from 2019?
Considering the large number of parties that are contesting, and considering the number of people interested in voting, what you call voter turnout. One could actually say the IEC has actually done well. But with a large organization that was required, which required more than 200,000 public officials to be appointed to steer these elections, and with over 23,000 polling stations, one could understand that there might be some hiccups, and there were some hiccups, but they were far in between. So to that extent, the one could understand why parties have almost accepted, grudgingly, some of them, the outcome of the process of these elections. And right now, most parties are simply waiting for the results. If there was any strong irregularity, parties would have lodged court papers and would have challenged the IEC. But at the moment, what you have is simply isolated incidences of incapacity and incompetence.
All eyes are on ANC, right? And the chances, I mean, let me ask you, all eyes are on ANC. How are the opposition parties performing compared to, I mean, the ruling party? And what are their chances of gaining ground for this election cycle?
There was never a doubt that the ANC will get the majority of the votes. And even as we speak now, the numbers do indicate the trend. But at the same time, one must also indicate that in as much as it is winning, it is also declining in percentage. And this is why these elections are seen as watershed, in the sense that for the first time, the ANC that has always gotten an outright majority in the last 8 years may find itself getting much below 50%. And when that happens, it may be forced to start finding people who will partner it in forming government. Hence, we're talking about a coalition government. And what will be of interest to many people is which partner will the ANC choose among the opposition parties. And one must also indicate that we entered this space where the former president of the ANC has also joined another party to contest elections against his own former party. And in a sense, that creates a new dynamic. And what has happened is that this party has been doing very well. And some are suggesting that it has been able to claw or get members who are disgruntled from the ANC, and also members from other parties, including a party like EFF.
Now, again, one of the things that that is very synonymous with elections is accuracy and integrity, and hoping that, you know, the electorate hoping that there's some sort of accuracy and transparency. So what measures are in place to ensure, you know, the integrity, transparency, and even the accuracy of the vote counts? And would there be discrepancies? I mean, do you forestall any type of discrepancies, and how would they be addressed?
Well, the way the IEC has approached this is to make sure that each polling booth has a representation of party agents. And each polling booth, there is already a number of people expected in that booth. And if you come in there and your name does not appear on the voters' roll, you are not going to vote. And at the same time, you also have party agents doing the calculation and the summation at the polling booth, where all parties that are contesting will be able to say, these are the results. So you do not have a situation where you have the votes being taken in a box and being counted elsewhere. So when results are given, the results would be results that emerge from each polling booth. So this ensures that the suggestion that there may be some balance that emerge from somewhere is actually minimized. So by and large, all parties have accepted that this is the best way in which you could actually ensure a bit of accuracy But of course, with any major initiative like this, you will find moments where people will behave in a particular way. For instance, there have been boxes that were found not escorted by members of the IEC and also the police, because each box must be supported by members of IEC and also be accompanied by the police. There have been a few instances, but given the large number of boxes that people had to deal with, this will be a drop in the ocean.
Well, Sifu, many thanks for coming on, and we'll continue. All eyes on South Africa to see what the results will be at the end of the counting, and hopefully there will be accuracy and integrity in the process. Many thanks for doing this with us.
You're welcome.
And away from that now, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees has issued an urgent plea to global leaders to address the humanitarian crisis in the Sahel region. The UN Refugee Agency warned that without immediate action, the crisis could escalate, drawing in other countries and becoming a global issue. In an interview with Abdurrafal Non-Konde, the UN Refugee Agency's director for West and Central Africa, highlighted the volatile situation in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. He emphasized the risk of the conflict spilling over into neighboring countries. The military regimes in these three Sahel states have expelled French troops, the former colonial power, and are increasingly seeking support from Russia to combat jihadist insurgencies.
It doesn't matter who is in charge, but as much as the most important thing is to make sure that our voice are heard and we understand the priorities of those people who are in control, and some principles need to be preserved in the way that we should respond to those civilian population. This is what matters. This is what those three countries, Gulf of Guinea, Togo, Benin, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, are already suffering because of the spillover of the security and the humanitarian situation. The same with Mauritania.
The squad of the senior national team of Nigeria for the World Cup qualifiers games against South Africa and Benin Republic has been hit by another crisis. Before now, Napoli forward Victor Osimhen pulled out due to injury that sidelined him for 4 weeks. The latest is Bayan Lewandowski's winger, and that is Nathan Teller, who has informed the Nigeria Football Federation, NFF, and the technical crew that he won't be available for both games. The 24-year-old cited family reasons. In a swift reaction, the coaches have drafted Kleko Rizafor, that's a star of that team, and that's Ibrahim Olawiyan as replacement. Away from that now, and still in Nigeria, the Nigeria Football Federation will confirm soon where the country's senior women national side, the Super Falcons, will train ahead of the 2024 Paris Olympics. The West Africans are making a return to the multi-sport event for the first time in 16 years. The initial plan was for the 9-time African champions to hold a foreign or local camp in the ongoing FIFA Women's International window between 28th of May to June 4th, during which Randy Waldrum sought to do an open screening for his new additions ahead of the championship. However, the NFF could not favor the plan, but already moved on to make arrangement for a pre-tournament training camp in Spain, holding from the 5th to the 16th of July. And that's all at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Court has barred former Rivers Assembly Speaker Amawale, 24 others from parading as lawmakers. Many trapped as two-story building has collapsed or crumbled in Lagos Island. We also told you that votes counting is underway in South Africa with ANC's majority on the line. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness reports through the WhatsApp number now showing on your screen. You can follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Judith at TV.